we welcome you to the broadcast here into New York City. And Kevin McCullough, glad to be with you, per always, here on AFA Today. It's your midday look at what is going on in the news world and why it is important and how it matters to you here in the middle of the day. We kind of tee up the golf ball for the real smashing driver like Brian Fisher to come along with Focal Point later in the afternoon and to take it further. But we want to get you caught up to speed on what you need to know about and what you need to be thinking about as you head into the afternoon. So we're grateful that you're here with us each weekday. So glad that we have the opportunity to talk about things that the mainstream press oftentimes will just overlook or ignore altogether. Even when there's grotesque signs of injustice done, even when there are things perpetrated that normally you would perceive as an infringement of just decent human rights, what we have the opportunity here at AFA Today is to weigh in on those very specifically. And I want to get right to the top story of what I'm talking about today. And I should have mentioned this yesterday, but we had such an interesting discussion on the Huma Abedin thing. I just couldn't pull myself away from that. But I saw this story yesterday. Bob Kellogg filed it yesterday, or actually last Thursday, on onenewsnow.com, and it just merits discussion. There is a mom in Concord, New Hampshire. Lizarda Urena is her name. And Lizarda actually has had a pretty tough go of it in recent months. She was pretty traumatized by the reality of the Sandy Hook shooting massacre in Connecticut. And as a result, she began to think more about the safety of public schools and what it involves in terms of her own daughter, her own children, and where they go to school. And then not long ago, her child's school had a little bit of a scandal, I guess you could say. They discovered there were some bullets in one of the bathrooms that had been, nobody really knows how they got there, but they turned up. So with that reality, these bullets that were discovered, and kind of the context of the Sandy Hook Elementary shooting from within this last year, there's this backdrop to this mom who lives in the same part of the country. I mean, Connecticut to New Hampshire is not far at all. There's this fear, there's this worry, there's this understanding in her own heart that kids are at risk. They run in desperate circles that sometimes have very bad people that come in and out of their lives, and this was a reminder of that. So she did what I think good moms should do. She got on her knees and started to pray. And she started to pray for the safety of her own children in the school that they attend, and she began to pray for the children that belong to other people that go to those same schools. And the reason that I think this is so admirable and so important is because she didn't just do it in a sense to appease her own, I don't know, safety or soul or worries, but she actually put shoe leather to her faith. She went out and she went to her child's school, and when she did, she asked the principal. She said, I'm a woman of faith. What I'd like to do is pray for your students every day, and I'll just be on the steps, but I'll be very nondescript. I won't be a distraction, I promise. And what we will do is I will pray for your students if you will allow me to come, and I'll do it every day. I'll be committed to praying for the safety and welfare of your students. And the principal allowed her and said, "This is totally fine. We would love to have you do this." She followed the rules. There was a degree of protocol that she has to follow, and that is you have to sign in and you have to let them know that you're there. But if you do, the rules in that school district in Concord, New Hampshire, allow for anyone to visit the campus. So she starts to do this, and she starts to, on a daily basis, come and pray for the students after they've arrived, she's there, she's praying, she's not being a distraction, she's minding her own business. Well, the Freedom from Religion organization in the local town there just can't have this under any circumstances. They just decide this is unacceptable. It is obvious that this woman, and these were their words, in a letter, they objected, stating it is the duty of the secular public school system to protect vulnerable children, not to expose them to pressure and prayers. The exercise of religion must be left to the individual, and religious education left to the family. Now, let me just remind you what the woman was doing. She was praying for her children, for the children of all those who attend that school, that God would keep them safe, that God would protect the kids that were in that school building. But the Freedom from Religion Foundation accuses her of being dangerous to those children, reminding the school that a secular public school system must protect vulnerable children. In other words, not let them be exposed to someone like her, not to expose them to pressure and prayers. The exercise of religion must be left to the individual, and religious education left to the family. 888-589-8840. Here's the questions I want you to answer. In what way was she endangering the vulnerable children? 888-589-8840, because the secular public school system is there to protect vulnerable children, says the Freedom from Religion Foundation. Surely there's something here that I'm missing. Surely, if that's how they objected, there's some way in which she's not protecting them. She's endangering them. Exposing them to pressure. What pressure is it when someone is on the campus of a public school and they're simply praying for that school? In terms of exposing the kids to prayers, I guess what? You're not allowed to see someone praying anymore? I don't think the woman was holding prayer meetings with the students. I don't think she was accosting them on their way into the building saying, drop to your knees and give me 5 prayers before you go inside. I don't think she was doing any of that. The exercise of religion must be left to the individual, and religious education left to the family. Here's what I would like to know, and I know there are a lot of atheists that listen to AFR. I know that there's a lot of people that don't buy into the Christian value system that listen to us every day. I know that. I want to know something from you in particular. And if you're an atheist, you let Miss Etta know, because I'm going to push you right to the top of the line, okay? I'm going to push you to the front of the line. Should atheists be offended that this woman is praying for the protection of the children that attend that school? And if the principal's responsibility is to protect the vulnerable children of that school, my question is that not what they're doing by allowing a person of faith to petition that person's God for his protection on the children? In other words, the very thing that the Freedom from Religion Foundation is complaining about, to protect vulnerable children, is that not exactly what the principal believes that the mom is doing? 888-589-8840. 888-589-8840. I want to know your thoughts. Because it seems to me, and I could be wrong, I've known a lot of atheists. I speak with them on a regular basis. I have one that works for my company here in New York, and I have very interesting discussions with her on a regular basis. But it seems to me that if the atheist was concerned about anything other than their own twisted sense of I have the right to not be offended mentality, aside from that, they would be in favor of this mom petitioning God to pray for the children's protection in that school. Again, I'm not making the confusing choice of choosing to be so well educated that I'm of no usefulness in this world. I try to think these things through from a logical baseline perspective. And I admit, I don't hold a doctorate degree in anything. I sometimes find them not all that helpful. But the basic bottom line issue of whether or not this woman is hurting or helping the children from the perspective of the atheist, how is she hurting the child? How is she in any way putting pressure on this child? This is what the Freedom from Religion people are saying. And I'm trying to understand their rationale for the request, because here's what happened. The principal, out of response to the atheist's letter, then decided to have the woman removed from the school grounds. He had originally given his permission for her to be there and to pray for the welfare of the children. And now the principal, because the atheist went, the principal then asked the mom, now you are no longer allowed to pray here. You have to be removed from the campus. Now they're not changing their visitors policy. They're not telling atheists that want to come and chant oaths to the oak tree that stands in the playground that they can't do that. 888-589-8840. One phone line open. Your thoughts on this issue. But this woman simply wanting to protect the kids of her school, praying on their campus daily, is now being told she can't be there anymore because she's endangering the vulnerability of the children, and they're under pressure, and they're hearing prayer. And this is all a very difficult thing. 888-589-8840. 888-589-8840. Time for a couple of calls before we go to our first break. Let's go to Michelle calling us from Illinois. Hello, Michelle. Welcome. You're on AFA Today with Kevin McCullough. So glad you're with us.
Hello.
Go right ahead, Michelle. We're short on time.
Okay. I'm sorry. I don't know the whole situation, but don't you think that it probably has to do with separation of church and state?
I'm sure that there's some people that would say that, but there is no real such thing as separation of church and state in our country. So I don't know why we keep ballyhooing that particular plank.
Well, I do think that's in the Constitution.
Yeah. Okay. Find where it is in the Constitution for me. I would love to see that.
I don't have my little book right now, my Constitution book.
Well, and Michelle, you're not going to find it because the phrase separation of church and state is in fact not in the Constitution. It is not a constitutional idea. It's not a constitutional principle.
Well, I am a Christian, but I probably would take offense if there were some Muslims on the steps with their prayer rugs praying. That those kind of things can influence children.
Yeah, the problem is they're not disallowing anybody except this woman. They have a visitor's policy that if you check in and you present no danger, that you're allowed to be on the grounds of the school. And that's what this woman did with the principal's permission.
Well, all I can say, I do think separation of church and state is a good thing.
Yeah, but it's not constitutional. It can be a wonderful thing, Michelle, and I appreciate your call. It can be a wonder. You can say it's a wonderful thing. It actually, that phrase appeared in private correspondence. It's not an official government document. What the First Amendment to the Constitution guarantees is that the government won't interfere in the practice of religion of the average person. But it doesn't say anything about religion not being part of people's lives that serve in the government in any way. We do have an atheist calling from Texas. We will get to him when we continue on the other side of our next break. But I'm taking your calls on your thoughts as to this woman's plight, praying for her kids' safety, the safety of all the children in the school in Concord, New Hampshire, and being told she can't because she's endangering those kids. Kevin McCullough on AFA Today, coming right back.